Well, WWE SummerSlam is in the books for 2015. Brian Fritz along with Michael Wiseman from BetweenTheRopes.com here. A man who, next to me, enjoys his beers, and luckily Stone Cold Steve Austin left him a nice beer in the room, didn't he?
Doing the beer of the week like we do in the podcast every week. Got a Lagunitas IPA from Mr. Austin himself, Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin himself. You know, SummerSlam's in the books. The whatever record books they have that has Chris Benoit's name marked through.
Yeah.
Those are the books that SummerSlam is in. So hope you enjoyed it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the show.
See you later. That was
so
good.
Obviously, no, you guys stay here though. So the main event, we get the rematch: Brock Lesnar against the Undertaker, and it was a strange finish to say the least. A little bit of a disputed thing because at the end of the match, at one point we were wondering, oh, Brock Lesnar had the Undertaker in Kimura, and you're wondering what is happening. Next thing you know, their bell is ringing, and referee Charles Robbins saying, no, I did not call for the bell.
Right.
So they continue the match, and while the referee is not looking, what does Taker do? Low blow, gets on his submission move. Lesnar's fighting it, gives him the finger, and next thing you know, he passes out, and they call for the bell, and that is the end of the match. Now, what we did not see, and was shown later on in the production, was in fact, and when Brock Lesnar had the Kimura on, that the Undertaker did tap. The problem was, the referee was on the other side of him, looking at the pin, and did not see the tap out. And it was a very strange finish because the crowd did not see that, did not get the nuances, were very upset, booing, and on top of that, I mean, it became a very flat finish, especially for the last match of the show and for a huge match like this. And everybody was wondering what exactly happened. And when the show ended, Paul Heyman went on a rant and did not like what went down.
Well, let's clarify something. First off, the crowd was into this match. We had a lull right after John Cena, Seth Rollins, the Divas match. The crowd was not very into. I think they kind of came back into it halfway through Kevin Owens, Cesaro, but they were really into this match. To be a slow match, to be just two big guys brawling it out, they were really digging it. There was a couple of "This is awesome" chants. The first time of the night, there were "This is awesome" chants. So it was really disappointing to see it play out like this because it was a poor production spot. I think that's what it boiled down to.
Well, that's the question, is like, so even on the broadcast team, they didn't even mention it from what we heard, because we asked some people that were actually watching the show at home, and the big question is, did they show that Taker was tapping out? Did they acknowledge it? But they didn't until after they showed the replay, which everybody here in the building got to see as well. So that's the weird thing about all of this, and the way that it went down. It was just very strange. And a quick follow-up on this, so now the belief is, we're going to get the third match. Now that we've got this disputed finish, we think they're going to set it up on Raw. And I fully expect Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker Part 3 at WrestleMania in Dallas.
So my whole thing with this is, we can downplay the way this match ended and talk about how kind of bummed out we are. I think it sucked a lot of the gas out of the arena because nobody knew what the heck was going on. And my first reaction to you, Fritzy, was I leaned over and said, this is bull malarkey, right? I was kind of upset. When they replayed it in the video and we saw the angle they had, they did it pretty smart. There was some intelligence put into Robinson's position, the referee being there on the other side. They actually used the shoulders for the count, which I appreciate as a wrestling fan, as a purist.
Sure.
That was nice. And the way the tap out was hidden, it kind of made some logical sense, which you don't always see in professional wrestling. But
the execution is what we can question, especially because of the reaction that we got from the audience live.
Yes, and so that's where you really lost some of it. I called my wife, she said, yeah, you didn't really see the tap out on TV at first. So poorly produced spots, I think that's an issue. But I'm looking forward to a Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker 3. I think it needs to be Undertaker's last match because The Undertaker, he was looking gassed at various spots in this match tonight. He was walking around the ringside, breathing heavy. There were a lot of rest holds at certain points. So I love The Undertaker, and he has a legacy unlike any other. He is tough as nails, but he needs to have one last match in March or April, and let's move on with his legacy. I think that's the important thing here.
Well, speaking of legacy, Seth Rollins adding to his, as he's now not only the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but he is also the United States Champion with a win over John Cena. Another disputed finish because there was a ref bump in the match. And guess what? Jon Stewart came down to the ring. Oh, we all thought he was Seth Rollins' nemesis, but no, he was not.
We all thought that?
A lot of people thought he was.
If you thought that, when Jon Stewart came out, he was going to support John Cena.
The setup in weeks leading to this was that they did not get along. All the times that Rollins showed up on the Daily Show and everything. So Stewart came down to the ring, had a chair, and guess what? He had John Cena
I'm not going to say I'm smarter than you, Brian.
Yeah.
But apparently I'm smarter than you.
Threw down the chair,
Okay.
and then Rollins was able to connect with the pedigree on Cena while the ref was still out of the ring. Threw the chair out, and we got the pin. So, and the funny thing was, I thought the match was pretty good, but the finish, the last like 5 to 10 minutes when it really picked up, was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty well done story. I think it was nice to have Jon Stewart there as well because it helped add an element to the story you wouldn't have otherwise. He's a big name. There's a lot of hype surrounding that. So you can question whether or not it was a good idea to go with a kind of a fake out finish for this match, but it told a good story. And we were talking about this on the bus back. You needed Seth Rollins to do something to look pretty strong coming out of this match. He's had a few weak spots. He got dominated last month at the pay-per-view. So he got a win here, and while yes, at one point John Cena had him pinned, there was no count. There was no real pinfall, and Seth Rollins got the victory. So I'm pretty happy with it. And he's your double champion. He had the white tights on in honor of Shawn Michaels, we think. So that was a pretty cool little touch as well.
I thought it was note to Freddie Mercury out there. I am hoping that on Raw he sings "We Are the Champions," and I also hope that he comes out with a sketch for how he would like his statue to look. That will be in WWE headquarters now that he is a legend like all the other people there, like he promised.
Right.
The Authority promised him if he got the win here, he would get his statue. So let's just quickly run down some of the other things that happened on the show.
Stephen Amell happened.
Stephen Amell did happen, and he was in the ring a lot more than I think anybody would have expected. Stephen Amell got the win along with Neville, beating King Barrett and beating Stardust.
He was in the ring. He was over the ring, outside the ring, on top of the ring. I mean, that flying jump off the top turnbuckle, that takes a lot of guts for a guy in his position, a star in his position. He took some pretty decent bumps in this match. He looked pretty solid. So I got to give him major kudos. You don't bring in a celebrity like this and get all this out of them a lot of times, but Stephen Amell did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Sheamus got a win against Randy Orton in the opener, double brogue kick, so he gets the victory there. We did have a double count out. It's funny, of all the matches that we thought maybe there would be something where there wasn't a finish, the one that we got that in was Rusev and Dolph Ziggler as they had a double count out, and it seems like that could be setting up obviously not only a rematch, but maybe we'll get the mixed tag with the women involved as well. And then in the 9-women 3-team elimination tag team match, PCB won, Becky Lynch got a pin, and in what might have been the most fun match of the night for the crowd, we have new tag team champions, the New Day, and we of course got an epic victory dance from Big E as well.
That was a pretty well done segment match. New Day came out and they were singing and dancing and doing their thing up front. The crowd loves them. The crowd is eating them up right now. I think it's really important that WWE come out strong with them tomorrow night and the coming month. But they're doing all the right things. You talk about this gimmick 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we were writing it off. We were saying there's no gas left in the tank for them. It's not going to amount to a hill of beans. This gimmick is done. They're all washed up. But they have taken this and done something really cool with it. As Xavier Woods, he deserves so much credit for what he's done here. I really hope they capitalize on this position. I'd love to see him turn face at some point. The crowd was into it. I know it's a Brooklyn crowd, right? The Brooklyn crowd tends to side with the little slivers of people that aren't as popular with the mainstream. Sure. But it was a fun match, and A New Day they're hot right now.
Yeah, and my prediction is for Raw, I think that we could see a call-up from NXT. I think Enzo and Big Cass makes a lot of sense. Call them up and have them go out there against the New Day. And maybe they'll be the ones that the fans get behind. Maybe that helps with the New Day being heels. The other match from the show, we did see Kevin Owens get a win, a clean win, as he beat Cesaro. What turned out to be a really good match. So we're also...
Let me ask you.
Yes.
All right. Talking about SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, Fritzy, what was your match of the weekend?
My match of the weekend would have to be going back to Saturday night.
Not on SummerSlam? The event of the summer?
I think the match of the weekend was Bayley against Sasha Banks for the NXT Women's Championship. And it's funny because we were talking about this. And if I really think about it, I think as good as Finn Balor and Kevin Owens was at that show as well, I think the second best match, when you look at top to bottom everything, was Rollins against Cena.
Okay.
Quite honestly. And it's taking nothing away from Balor and Owens, who had a spectacular match. But there was just the whole element of Rollins and what he brought to that match in particular and what the stakes were for that were, it was just bigger, I thought.
You just like the white pants.
Well, the white pants were spectacular. I thought a disco was going to break out at some point, man. He's bringing it back. But, do you agree about the Divas match? Because, it was spectacular. It wasn't even a Divas match because it was an NXT. That's a women's match.
Yeah.
And it was spectacular from how they built the match. They tell a story going after Bayley's hand, and she's the ultimate underdog who's come so close so many different times, and she comes away with the victory, and just the emotions that went into that match.
I was super impressed that it still felt really special. We knew that Bayley was probably going to win the women's title Saturday. It was her coming up moment, right? So the fact that it still felt so special, and that I was getting tweets and texts from people that said this is like a magical moment, like it's an emotional moment.
Yeah.
I think that really says how important the story was to NXT, to these divas, Sasha Banks and Bayley both, to women's wrestling as a whole. I gotta agree with you. I think that was the match of the weekend. I came away from last night. That show was hot. The crowd was hot. I really thought on first gut instinct that Kevin Owens and Finn Balor would sit with me better. I said that was I told Scott Fishman, right, Miami Herald, that's my match of the night. I changed my mind overnight. I thought about it more, and the way I felt, those divas, those women told such a great story, and so I really got to give props to them. I disagree with you. I think that
okay, Dean Ambrose.
I think
watch our other videos for that reference.
Second best match of the weekend had to be Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, because that ladder was impressive. They took some really cool bumps.
Yeah.
From start to finish, that was my second favorite match of the weekend. I think Seth Rollins, John Cena was great, but it didn't click with me the same way that did. The NXT show, though, as a whole, was incredible. You talk about a crowd that was hot, but just the atmosphere, the story, Triple H putting all that into it, the way that show opened, it was a really special event to be a part of. SummerSlam was great. SummerSlam was good, but NXT was phenomenal.
Well, I think the whole thing was we thought going into the weekend, NXT would be a very special, spectacular show. But come the end of the day, it would be SummerSlam that would be the one that we'd leave and going, that was the better show. And I think, SummerSlam was a very good show. But there was a couple flat finishes on there. It was a really strange ending, the way that the audience was involved. And come the end of it, I think TakeOver is probably the better show.
I agree.
When you look at it as a whole. But you know what? Now we've got Seth Rollins as the world champion, as the United States champion. It looks like we're going to have a rematch between Taker and Brock Lesnar, but probably at WrestleMania. And I think that's all going to be set up coming up on Raw. Jon Stewart, I expect him to be there as well. And impressive for WWE to go into the Barclays Center. Over 13,000 people, 3 nights in a row in the same building, and they've sold out. That's TakeOver, going into SummerSlam, and then also going into Monday Night Raw, which is going to be probably a very spectacular show. So
I think we also got to call out we got a little bit of time with the 2K games this weekend, got to interview some stars. It's looking very promising this year. I'm super excited. I think I was a little bit down on 2K last year. They took out a lot of features fans really liked.
Yeah.
So just touching, we can't talk about all the features until tomorrow, and it's not tomorrow for another 30
Well, we
minutes.
can talk about a couple, because a couple things that are back in the game. You got ladder matches back in the game. The tornado matches are back in the game. They've got a ton of characters that are going to be in there as well. And then on top of that, like, they've added so many different features. Like you can actually attack somebody when they're making their entrance
when they're walking out
the ring. So they've added a lot of different things that they took out of the game last year, and they decided to bring it back because popular demand. People wanted it. So there'll be more information coming out about 2K16 coming out in a few weeks, with that game set to come out October 27th here in the United States and October 30th internationally.
And I will say that first looks at it, first hands-on impressions, got a lot to be excited about this year. So
Yes.
we'll see if it comes to fruition, but it's pretty exciting. I think we need to go. I saw a guy over there open up his window. I think he was topless, or he wasn't wearing any pants. So before this gets any weirder, we should probably go.
We did see a pool party in the street earlier today, though.
We did. Some guy literally had a wrench, and he popped open one of those fire hydrants that you see like in the TV shows.
Yes.
Had kiddie pools out there, so not something you see in my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
So thanks again for joining us. He's Michael Wiseman. I'm
All right.
Brian Fritz. Make sure you check us out, BetweenTheRopes.com, and subscribe to us here on YouTube as well.